How we doing, guys? Everyone have a good weekend? I was in Ireland this weekend, right? And I was at a train station and someone put the timetable up on a set of automatic doors, right? So when people walked up to read it, the door opened and the timetable moved away from them, right? Now, if I saw that in any other country in the world, I would know that that was staff incompetence, right? But in Ireland, that's just someone having the crack, you know? And no one got upset. Everyone just sat down to watch the next person. You know? But I was in a bar, right, and this old man turned to an old woman and said, "What is love," right? And she goes, "It's an itchy feeling you get around your heart that you can't scratch with your fingernail," right? So I was like, I don't want to interrupt, love, but that sounds a lot like angina. You should get that checked out, right? But I was talking to a woman at work this week, right, and she's telling me she's watching Britain's Worst Killers. So I said to her, "What was it about?" And she goes, "It was about a nurse that killed babies." So I said to her, "How many babies did she kill?" And she goes, "She killed 8, but a few of them survived." I was like, I don't think it works like that, right? But it might explain why she was on Britain's Worst Killers. Have we got any smokers in? Anyone smoke? You smoke? How many do you smoke a day?
10, 15.
Not too bad. Not too fucking bad, right? You're probably fucked, but not too bad, right? My granddad used to smoke 40 cigarettes a day, right? And we all thought he was going to get lung cancer, right? And then he got Alzheimer's. He forgot he smoked. Alzheimer's literally added 10 forgettable years onto his life. You know, but I was in Witherspoons recently, right, and I was talking to 2 alcoholics, and one guy goes to the other guy, "If you had to pick Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, which would you pick," right? And your man goes, "I'd pick Parkinson's, right, because I could live with spilling me drink, but I'd hate to forget where I left it." But I recently had a health scare, right? I woke up one morning and I weed blood, right? I don't know if any of the lads have ever weed blood. I tell you, it's a fucking experience, right? It feels like a normal wee. If anything, felt a little bit nicer, right? And I went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "I want to put a camera down your willy," right? And I was like, "Well, you can fuck right off," right? And he was like, "Relax, the camera's really small. It's about the size of a pencil, right?" So he put it down there, right? And the whole time I kept thinking, pencils are fucking massive. He then wanted to put his finger up my bum, and I was like, "Hang on here now. Is this gonna hurt?" And he said no, but it might be uncomfortable, right? Now, I'll be honest with you, it was quite pleasant. I said to him, "Feel free to have a second poke." And he was like, "You'll have to go private for that," right? I sent my mother a video on my set, and I said, "What did you think?" And she goes, "I just loved the joke where you got fingered in the bum." You know, but we live in a very unequal society, right? I have a friend who works for a hedge fund, right? And they recently had a staff do, and a band came and played a private gig for them, right? Do you know who the band was? The Killers. The fucking Killers played a gig for 180 employees, right? I work in the NHS. Our last staff do was a bring your own beer karaoke night in Nando's, right? I said that in a university once, right? And the minute I said I worked for the NHS, this woman got up clapping and cheering and gestured to the whole room. And I got a standing ovation for working for the NHS, right? I don't work for the NHS. I made it up for that joke. I work for that hedge fund. And we are gonna fuck the NHS up. I said that in Canary Wharf one night, right, and they went fucking wild, right? So I just stood there like the Wolf of Wall Street. Do you know how fucking weird it is to have a room full of dickheads cheering you on for pretending to be a hedge fund? It's going to fuck the NHS up when you actually work for the fucking NHS. You know? But a lot of homeless people in London, right? Liverpool, we're in Liverpool now. I should have said that. Shouldn't have said London. A lot of homeless people in Liverpool. But I was talking to a homeless guy the other day, right? And he was telling me he was up in court for burning down a building site. So I said to him, did you do it? And he goes, I don't know. And I said, what'd you tell the police? And he goes, I told them I can't remember, but it sounds like something I would do. Have we got any Spice Girls fans in? Anyone like Spice Girls? What's your favourite song? Too Much Pressure. They've so many great songs, it's really hard to think of one, isn't it? It is. Wannabe? Wannabe. Great. You're not fans at all, are you? You don't know who the fuck they are. My favourite song, though, I fucking love the Spice Girls, right? I fucking love them, right? And my favourite song is When Two Becomes One, right? Which everybody knows is about the reunification of Ireland. When two, Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland become one Ireland, right? No one ever gave the Spice Girls credit for their political insight and the Irish republicanism of all their songs, you know. Girl power is actually an acronym for Give Ireland Real Liberty, Parliament of Westminster, Etonian Racists, you know. But racism is back, you know. I recently went paintballing, right? And this little kid pointed at me and he went, oh, look, he's Irish. And then his friend went, he'll be good at shooting people. But I work in health, right? I work in health, so I deal with a lot of elderly people, right? And I recently went on a first date, and an old woman recognised me from work. And she came over to me on my date, and she put her hand on my shoulder, and she goes, Jesus, I nearly didn't recognise you with your clothes on. And what she meant was she didn't recognise me with my non-work clothes on, right? But the fucking damage was done. If you find yourself on a first date looking a girl in the eye and going, I swear to God, I do not sleep with grannies, you're not getting a second date, right? But I was on Tinder recently, right, and this girl's profile said, like a lot of people on here, I was born in the wrong era. I'm a vegan and an animal lover, right? Now, I know a little bit about history. I don't remember a golden age of veganism, right? What fucking era was she supposed to be born in? The Elizabethan era. Have you ever seen a picture of Henry VIII, right? That's not a man who eats nut seeds and fucking couscous, is it? You know? But I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, right? And he was in one of these private rehab places for drug and alcohol addiction, right? And he was telling me at the end of the treatment, you had to bring a family or a friend in, right? To get up to the group and say what a dickhead you are while you were in the height of your addiction, right? And he said everyone got up and was like honest and fairly brutal. But he said his brother got up and fucking took it to another level, right? Made him out to be the greatest cunt that ever fucking lived, right? And I says to him, Jesus, why did he do that to you? And he goes, Asher, I did the same to him 3 weeks ago. You know, I was in a Tesco car park the other day, right, and this guy falls out of a pub and he crawls across the car park in full view of two policemen, right? And he fucking crawls into a car and starts the car up, right? So the policeman goes up to him and goes, Jesus, I don't think you can drive home like that, you know? And he goes, I think I've a fucking better chance driving than I have walking. You know? But I recently did my very first fully paid up professional comedy gig. One woo here initially. You were all meant to woo at the one time. We try it once more and see if you can all woo at the one time, right? I recently just did my very first fully paid up professional comedy gig. And I proper fucked it up, right? It was in the Irish Centre in Hammersmith, right? And I imagined an audience of drunken Irish builders, right? So I thought to myself, I am going to go out there and blow the fucking roof off these cunts, right? And I jumped up on the stage and it was a room full of grannies, right? And I fucking panicked, right? I couldn't stop cursing. I said the C word 4 times before I realised there was 2 nuns in the front row, right? And the minute I finished me set, all the grannies ran to the bar to down double gin and tonics to settle their nerves, right? And afterwards, the promoter went up to the manager of the centre and was like, listen, I'm really sorry about that. And she was like, no, you fucking listen to me, right? I'll let you put this gig on again on one condition. That little fella that did all the swearing, he has to come back. And he's like, what? And she's like, we haven't sold that much gin since St. Patrick's Day. I've been Jack Hester, thank you.